You feel it in your soul. You have a passion and a purpose that you want to use in order to start the perfect business in your life. And you know that when you start this business, it can change the game for you, decision-making wise, financially, freedom-wise, all of the things. But the question is, how do you take that passion, that burning desire, and that purpose and turn it into a profitable business to get started? Well, there's definitely a method to that madness. But most importantly, when you tune in today, you will get the clarity of exactly the steps that you need to take on how to turn your passion into a profitable business. So keep watching and let's get to work. Hey there, my loves. Welcome back. And today's topic is really one that I think is near and dear to my heart. I oftentimes get the question and remember very distinctly also feeling very indecisive about my business idea. And that is a major issue. It's paralyzing. And so today I want to make sure that you can find the perfect business idea, and that business idea that you come up with is really truly has the ability to be tied to fulfilling all the things and checking all the boxes for you, including something that you're passionate about, something that you feel helps you fulfill your purpose, something that you can actually do, something that people will actually pay you for. All of those decisions and frustrations and doubts and back and forth and wishy-washy that you feel when you're coming up with your business idea, I want to make sure that I walk you through today the steps to uncover the perfect business idea for you to be able to tie your passion and purpose into so that you can carry this business into the future. And I want to get started with step number one. So step number one is for you to really take some time to find your true passion and your purpose. All right? You really have to take some time. Because I think that when people are struggling with what business idea or what type of consulting business or coaching business to actually start, the biggest struggle is really trying to figure out truly what you're passionate about and really what your purpose is. And so having passion and purpose in business is 100% crucial, because business and entrepreneurial journeys in essence can have so many ups and downs. And oftentimes the one thing that will keep you holding on and keep you pushing forward is that you're doing something that you're truly passionate about or that truly fulfills a purpose in you. I can tell you from someone who has started businesses in the past that I was not passionate about. And so having true passion and purpose in the decision that you make and in the business that you are building will only help you be that much more successful. People sometimes have said to me, well, I heard that businesses fail in their first 3 to 5 years because of marketing, or I heard that businesses fail in their first 3 to 5 years because of money. And I would venture to tell you that as an entrepreneur who has made it through the first 3 to 5 years several times, it wasn't about the money and it wasn't about the marketing. It was truly about my lack of passion.
It's not about the money, money, money. We don't need your money, money, money.
Towards working the way that I needed to work and pushing the way that I needed to push and overcoming the way that I needed to overcome in order to see the business through, to find out exactly what that passion and purpose is. So here's what I recommend you do really quickly. You need to create your own definition of passion and purpose for yourself. Do not take Webster's or what somebody else says you're passionate about or what somebody else says that your purpose is. Take the time to really be introspective and come to terms with what in your soul makes you feel good. I talk about finding your why. I have a whole video here on CPTV about finding your why, and that's why I always say that is the first step in starting a business, because once you identify what that why is, which is ultimately your purpose and your passion, then everything else comes into play. And so you've got to make sure that you create your own definition. You've also got to make sure that you understand what you don't like. Right? Sometimes it's easier to know what you don't like than it is to know what you do like. So that's all a part of finding your purpose and passion. You have to get crystal clear on what you're naturally good at and what you're naturally strong at doing, your natural skills. And you've got to pay attention to what ignites what I like to call your flow state, right? You know, we've all done it. We've all been in that flow state before where you're doing something, but it doesn't even feel like you've been doing it as long as you've been doing it when you're in the middle of doing it because you're in a flow. Like I know when I am creating a process or when I am working on a strategy, I'm in my flow state. And so I can look up and 3 or 4 hours later, be like, holy shit, I've been working on this sales funnel or this marketing strategy for 4 hours. It doesn't even feel like it's been that long. That, my love, is your flow state. And pay attention to what you do that puts you in that space where it doesn't even feel like you're working while you're doing it. That is a big piece of figuring out exactly what your purpose and your passion is. And that is the first step in determining what the actual business idea that you have should be and how you pursue it. Now, step number 2 in this process is to, once you have found out what your passion and purpose is, you're going to have a better idea of what direction you want this business to go, right? This idea. You're going to have a better idea of the direction. You're going to know, all right, at the very least, it has to be surrounding this that I'm passionate about and this that I feel is fulfilling my purpose. The next step is for you to do the market research and the feasibility study in order for you to reinforce that idea. So some people stop after step number 1. When you are starting a business as an entrepreneur, some people just stop and they're like, well, I know what I'm passionate about and I know what my purpose is now, so I'm just going to go for that. That can be a big problem, right? Because just because you have passion and purpose doesn't mean that the rest of the world who will ultimately be giving you money has passion and purpose. It doesn't necessarily mean that the market wants your passion and purpose. So that is where this step kind of comes into play. Once you've determined the first one, you've got to conduct market research. You've got to determine the feasibility of this idea, whether or not there's a market for it, whether or not there's a demand, if there's people out there that's already doing it, if there are people out there who are actually going to pay for your passion and your purpose, who those people are, where they are, you know, what's the projections for the market, what's the scalability of this particular idea, can it start here and go over there? That is this market research and feasibility space that I need you to make sure you are doing. Because if you just focus on step 1 and never do step 2, you could also be setting yourself up for failure. Because yeah, you might be loving what you're doing, but if ain't nobody paying you to do what you love, it don't matter. It really don't matter. Make sure you know what's going on in the market. And step number 3 is once you've determined, okay, this is feasible, my passion and purpose is there, and I found out in the market research that there are people out there who will definitely pay big money for what I love to do, then it's time for you to define your unique value proposition. Like, where is that little niche that you can fit into, that you can do, that targets something that no one else out there is really providing, right? Your unique value proposition is this third step, and you have to have one. Otherwise, you won't be set apart. And when you're starting a business, you want to find your tribe, right? You want to find the people who you have literally narrowed down into that you know will pay you. And oftentimes people are going to be more attracted to you because you're offering something very unique, you know, in the marketplace. And I have a really good example of a coaching student that I work with. We're in the process of helping her get her consulting business off the ground. And she had a general idea of what she's passionate about and what her purpose was. And as we continue, I said, okay, well, it's time for you to do the market research. I sent her off to do step number 2. We worked through all of the data. And as we continued to work through the data, you know, I said, what's our unique value proposition? Like, where are we going? And she realized after her market research and after she determined her purpose and her purpose and her passion, and after her market research, we determined that she had a very unique value proposition when it came to working with millennial women, right? With millennial women and targeting millennial women and knowing the needs of millennial women and what she could ultimately provide specifically and uniquely to that particular audience. And that is what I am talking about. We found out that the market was there and that there were a lot of people out there doing it, but none of them were really addressing that particular need. And that is where we kind of niched her in. And that is what's going to ultimately make her, in her very words, a billionaire. She was just going to blow up. So step number 3, define and find your unique value proposition, and you'll be well on your way to knowing that this is the best idea ever. All right, so step number 4 in this entire process is to identify your target audience, for sure. I just alluded to it in that unique value proposition. And one of the things that naturally will happen for you as you do your market research and then you really figure out your UVP, I call it your unique impact proposition, or UIP, that's a CP way of saying it. But once you do that, naturally what will happen is this customer will emerge. This particular general customer will emerge, and that customer will be your target. That's the person that is your ideal client. You're gonna say, like I just said to you in my previous example, my coaching client, hers we discovered was millennial women, right? Millennial women. Now that was a general client for her, but we still needed to really dive deeper and find her ideal client within that, right? Millennial women is a very broad audience. And so as we continue, and we still are working through this piece in her journey, as we continue to go through this flow in this space, we are continuing to narrow down a specific subset of that ideal client, right? We are continuing to narrow it down. So now we're at millennial women who are in corporate America, who are trying to claw their way up the corporate ladder. And we may get to a particular race. We may get to black women because that's who she prefers to work with or identifies with more, or really can help through her own personal experiences, because obviously she's starting a consulting and a coaching business. So you have to be able to coach people to that. So I say all of this and giving you an example is to give you a specific way to do all of those steps and to identify who that target audience is. It is a very important step in knowing that you're on the right track in this business journey, and it all started with that purpose. So make sure that step number 4 is done and done well, because it's going to continue to make sure that you are on that right track and using your passion to kind of start this business. So if you are feeling me and I am like, whoa, like lighten up your thing and you're like, oh my God, CP, I feel like you're talking directly to me and I'm getting so much value, make sure that you stop down below and give me a like, please. It totally helps our videos in the algorithm. Don't cost you nothing, so just let me know by giving me a like and leaving me, some questions that you have as you embark upon this journey down in the comments below. Be happy to answer. Now, these next 2 steps is where we really get into the nitty gritty of how you're going to get this business started. And step number 5 is creating your business plan. That seems kind of like a given, but I say that as step number 5 very specifically. Notice that I said step number 5, not step number 1. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of people decide that they're going to start a business, they come up with a business idea, and they go right to business planning. Business planning is not step number 1. Business planning is step number 5, because you definitely have to have a business plan. You definitely have to create a simple yet effective business plan and strategy that maps out all the specifics and details of this business. But before you can get here, you have to do the other steps that I just talked about. You have to know what your passion and purpose is. You have to have done your market research to determine feasibility. You have to have figured out what your unique value proposition is, and you have to have figured out who your audience is before you can get to this business planning piece. And I oftentimes have you guys reach out to me and say, can you help me figure out my business plan? And then when I start asking questions about the first 4 steps, you have not completed them yet. But step number 5 is definitely creating that business plan, setting clear goals, setting clear measurable objectives, and getting that basic simple plan together so that you know what you're following and you know what your next steps are. You get so much clarity from a business plan that I can't even describe how important it is. But step number 5 is definitely one that you got to incorporate into this whole process. And then the last step in this, even though there are some afterwards, is I would say getting to the point where you are actually setting up your business. Once you've got 1 through 4 done and you now have your business plan, it is then time to set it up. And when I say set it up, I mean the legal structure. I mean the LLC, the business bank account, the tax ID, the business address, the business domain, the email. And that's the problem that a lot of people face when they are starting along this entrepreneurial journey, is that you go right to a business plan, or sometimes you go right to this step number 6 and you just go right to setting everything up. And And then you come to me and I'm like, oh, well, let's talk about this. And then you're like, oh, I got to go back and change my name now. I got to go back and get a whole different LLC. I got to go back and do this. And it's because we tend to go directly to setting up the structure. Setting up the business structure is critical, but it is not step number one for a reason. Trust me, I am only teaching you this because I have done it the wrong way. I have done this out of order, and it absolutely, quite frankly, everything up. So learn from my mistakes, y'all. Step number 6 is actually setting up the business. Don't skip it because it's critical. I know a lot of you out there is like, I don't even know if I need an LLC. I don't know if I need a formal structure. You do, okay? You do. CPTV has a ton of videos on it that's letting you know you do. So don't mess around with that either. You do, but don't go directly to step number 6 because there's a few things that I already went over with you in this video that I want you to make sure that you do first. So let's do a quick recap. What did I say? Step number 1 is for you to find your true passion and your purpose. Define it for yourself. Step number 2 is for you to do the market research and determine the feasibility of this business idea that you're embarking upon. Step number 3 is for you to define your unique value proposition and what you are going to bring to the table that no one else can. Step number 4 is for you to identify and define who your ideal customer is and who your target audience is going to be. And step number 5 is for you to ultimately create that simplified business plan to give you the game plan and the structure. And then step number 6 is for you to set the whole damn thing up. Get the legal stuff out the way, your LLC, your domain, your address, your phone, your tax ID, your business bank account. Those are the steps, my love. That is why, and that is how you are going to turn this passion that you have into an actual feasible consulting business. That is what I want you to do. Those are the steps. And until next time, my loves, don't forget to give me a like. I will see you soon. Stay safe. Bye-bye.